Welcome to Marlene at Home. And this week's episode is called Sisters. Sisters, sisters, there were never such devoted sisters. I'm really excited to have my sister Cindy here with me for this episode. She's here visiting, she and her husband from Alabama. And so welcome to Marlene at Home. And I'm Marlene from the Carroll County Public Library North Carroll branch, where I'm the Adult Services Supervisor. In my family, there's just two girls, Marlene and Cindy. I talked last week about my dad and DJ, and after World War II, my dad came home, met my mom, who was 7 years younger than he was, and so 3 years after coming home from the war, my dad married. We've always been shocked. My mom was married at 17. She didn't think we should be dating until we were 40 or 50, but she married at 17. Here's the happy couple on their wedding day. This is my mom and dad in 1948. A few years later, after they were married, I was born, Marlene Lila. My middle name is after my mother's mother, my grandmother. And then, I'm not sure when after I was born, but sometime after I was born, my dad developed a brain tumor and went through a lot of treatment. And by the way, my dad was in the graphic arts department for the Scott Paper Company, and his office would have been in the new, at that time, building completed right next to the Philadelphia airport. But he went through many treatments, surgeries, difficulties, but they finally thought they had all the brain tumor and he was clear. And the doctor gave them the okay to have another baby. And Cynthia Grace was born 3.5 years after I was born, and she was named, her middle name Grace is for a famous missionary, and there was a missionary lady, sweetest lady, Grace Congleton, and so that was really fun. This is my first Easter, and Marlene would have been about 3.5, almost 4. So we've been talking all day about all the things we could say and what we won't say and what we will say, and of course Cooper's here going by. I don't know if you'll be able to see him at all tonight, but anyway, in our early years people called us Bill's Girls. Here's Bill's Girls, a year, almost 2 years before he passed away. And then as we grew up and we were further away from the time that my dad passed away, we were called Fran's Girls. And then as we got to be, high school age, then we were called the Davis Sisters because we started singing a lot of places. My mom was widowed at 26, had 2 children. I was 5. Cindy, you were 22 months when Dad passed away, but the 3 of us were always together. Cindy, talk about what was it like, what was our relationship like with our extended families on both sides?
We were never alone. We spent lots of times with our grandparents, probably more time with Mom's mom and dad, my mom and Papa Paris, and then our aunts and uncles and cousins on both sides, the Davis side and the Harris side. And it was just exciting to always have cousins around to play with, and aunts and uncles, and holidays especially, when a couple of our aunts and cousins lived close, so we saw them more often at church every week and several times throughout the week, more than we would those that lived further away.
And so really our cousins were like our brothers and sisters because we were so close. A little bit about when we were growing up. Cindy, you had a nickname as a young child. Dynamite. Why would that be?
That's what Papa Paris gave me. I was just full of energy.
That's one way of saying it. She was stubborn and she had a temper. I remember when she was in elementary school, and she's always been the smallest kid in her class. She hit a girl that was like 2.5 times her size in elementary school over the head with a baton, and my principal calling my mother. My mother came in and looked at the 2 girls, and she said, you're gonna get my daughter in trouble for hitting that big girl? But anyway, she was a very strong-willed child. I will admit to that. Our church life played a big part in our life from the time we were little, as well as music. And at a very young age, we started singing. The very first place we sang was?
In our grandmother's Sunday school class.
And we were trying to think how old we were. I think maybe I was in 4th grade and you would have been maybe in 1st. And one of the favorite things that Cindy likes for me and other people to mention, how did you do it? You were so small. How could people see you?
I had to stand on a stool.
A stool, a wooden box, whatever we could find. What are some of the places beside church we used to sing?
Oh, just about every Sunday afternoon we would be at nursing homes. Let's see, we would go to, where else would we go on Sundays?
Nursing homes, we would go to, on Saturday nights we used to do
Servicemen centers.
at Aberdeen. We used to go
Rescue missions.
rescue missions, prisons.
Yes.
I can still remember the clanking doors they would close behind us. Nursing homes were always your favorite place to go.
Oh, yes. Oh.
She still has a fear of nursing
Yes,
homes.
I do.
Yeah, banquets. We did a lot of banquets. Mother-daughter banquets, women's banquets, ladies' meetings, that kind of thing. You name it, and we were there. We both started on piano, but because my mom and the two of us were in a bad car accident, hit by drunk teenage boys, then we moved in with my grandparents. I had to stop piano. She hadn't started yet. But then I switched to violin at school. But Cindy continued with piano and organ, to this day. And so anyway, but really we started first as vocalists, singing duets, and then of course we got into different music groups and choirs at church, and youth choir, and duets, trios, all kinds of different things. One of the other things, I was a soloist through high school. Cindy became more of a soloist when she was married. But speaking, I don't want to go past childhood too quickly because not only was Dynamite, but Dynamite was also a tattletale. Got me in lots of trouble. In 6th grade, what did you do? When I was in 6th grade.
Let's see, was that the football game?
That was the football game.
Well, she was coming home from a football game, and I happened to spot her with a young man holding hands. And that was a no-no in our growing up. So I had to run home and tell Mom Marlene was holding hands with a boy.
And she asked his name, and here my mother had dated his father in high school, knew his name, got on the phone and called him. And I could hardly face that boy at school on Monday morning. Yeah, that was one tattletale. Oh, what about the time I was in high school? And I was standing at the door with a young man as he was leaving for the evening. It was late at night. And I thought, did somebody just walk through this room? And he assured me no one did. But,
Is that the evening you got a good night kiss?
well, apparently to you, that's what you told my mother.
That's what happened. Busted.
Busted. Tattletale. Dynamite.
See
Yes.
what happens? It wasn't nipped in the bud and hand holding and moved on to kissing.
One of
You
the other
didn't learn your lesson, did you?
This is us, me in junior high, Marlene in high school, doing our evening chore every night, washing, drying, and putting away the dishes.
One of the other things we loved to do as kids was, and adults, is to sing in the car. The ignition went on and us girls started singing. It could be popular music, it could be church music, harmonizing, trying to figure out new songs. Then my mother would sometimes join us. But anyway, singing. When I was 16 and Cindy was 12, my mom remarried. That was a very big surprise to us. I never saw anybody that she dated. She married a family friend that we all called Uncle Joe. So I was 16. I was going with that guy that she tattletaled on me about. And anyway, I was like, who could my mother be marrying? You'd think I'd see this. And when she said Uncle Joe, I said, Uncle Joe? But it was a dear friend of all of our families, probably as close to my aunts and uncles and grandparents as to my mom. But never saw it coming. That's pretty hard to accept as a 16-year-old. But of course, this girl, all she could talk about is, I hope we have a baby brother. And I'm like, oh, please.
No, we never did.
Thank the Lord. I would not want to go to high school telling that story. This is Uncle Joe on the day he became our dad. Never were two girls more blessed with a loving father. But anyway, that was another fun thing. But I still remember the time my dad said to us, "You girls fight like devils all week, trying to pick out the song to sing at church on Sunday. Then you get up there and you look and you sound like angels and everybody raves. But if they only saw you all week like little devils down there arguing and fighting." That was a part of our growing up, arguing and fighting, I have to admit. Not as bad as I've seen other children, but I want to be honest. There was one other dating experience we were talking about that I remembered. I was dating my husband, but we were not serious, and we weren't, it was a summer home from college, we weren't in the same states even, and there was we shouldn't be dating anybody. But I was also dating, and had been before I met my husband, dating someone that went on to become drafted by the Green Bay Packers as a football player. And so we had come home from a date, we're just sitting out in the car talking, and the lamppost just keeps flicking off and on, off and on. I'm like, what could be going on? My mother would never be doing this. What would it be?
She'd have been out in the car.
Right, if my mother didn't want me talking to that boy, she would have been out there. But who was the light flicker and why?
You were missing a very important phone call, and her husband-to-be, Paul, was calling to talk to her. And I wasn't going to tell him she was out with another guy. So I was trying to get her attention. Get in here, there's an important call. And I told him, you can call back in just a few minutes. I'm sure she'll be back in a few minutes. That's what happened.
Several times he called and I was saying, yikes. Well, yep, she's flashing the lights off and on. Another thing we were both really involved in was our high school band.
Yes.
Talk about that.
You were in the drill team. Did you start in junior high too?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And then when she went to high school, I became in junior high age, and I became a majorette in junior high, and I went all the way through our senior year as a majorette. You went all the way through until your senior year in the drill team.
Mm-hmm.
We were also involved in the chorus at our high school and junior high, I presume.
Mm-hmm.
What else were we involved with?
I was in orchestra. I was one of the soloists also for chorus, but you were the pianist for the stage band
in high school.
You were in chorus.
Mm-hmm.
We were in choirs and youth choirs at
Mhm.
church.
Mm-hmm.
Something you were going to add?
Can't.
We do have some little cheat sheets here, and she can't quite read it. But yeah, I think we pretty much covered our high school music years. And then of course there were the college years. I was real involved for 3 years in different music teams representing my college. You did things musically through.
David and I traveled with a singing group at
Mhm.
our college.
So
for 2
yeah,
years. Mhm.
so we did that. We also shared some dates. It was a real memorable date. We went to Longwood Gardens, I think.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, Longwood Gardens was right near our home, and it was all free back then. So that was like where many a date, or you'd go miniature golfing and then to Longwood Gardens, or you would go out to eat and then to Longwood Gardens. It was just always Longwood Gardens. So I always said I wanted either a Christmas wedding or a Longwood Gardens wedding, but I got the Christmas wedding. But anyway,
It was my senior year, so I don't think you were married yet.
No, we weren't married yet. It was summer because we were outside
Yes.
Longwood.
Mhm.
But yeah, we came home, and there's a big step up to my mom's porch. So Paul's holding the door, and Cindy, I think I went in first, and
No,
then
you all were behind me.
oh, okay.
I went in first.
She went in first, but it was one of the maxi dresses
It
were in
was
style.
yeah, the '70s when the maxi dresses and
Yeah.
peasant tops.
Yeah, kind of elastic peasant tops.
Mhm.
And while she went to go up this big step, it's like this deep maybe, little did we know that Paul was standing on the bottom hem of the maxi dress. And so she went up the step and the dress did not. And I hear this holler and I look up and her dress is down here.
I quickly stepped back down though, because the guy I was dating was right behind me, and I'm like, yikes.
So anyway, yeah.
That
Yeah,
was
we-
an unforgettable moment.
We
I'm
still
sure.
remember that. Yes,
Yes.
we do. Anyway, I had the Christmas wedding. You had.
Easter wedding.
And why did you always want to get married? There was another time of the year you did not want to get married.
I did not want to get married in the hot summer
That's right. And why?
because I didn't like hot weather.
And you didn't want to be all dressed up.
Yes, and be sweaty.
Right. So, you got married in April.
That's correct.
And what happened?
It was the hottest day on record in Philadelphia for years and years
I
and
think
years.
it still is. I see it every April 17th.
April 17th.
It always is the hottest. Yeah, it was like 100 degrees. The air conditioning wasn't on in the church yet. The cake icing melted and the cake layers were tilting. The flowers were wilting. But she got married.
Yeah.
It was in spring, but it was almost 100 degrees. So yeah, see, you should have gone with the Christmas wedding.
Oh, no.
I just have to say, we are best friends. We call, text constantly, all throughout the day. It's rare. I mean, there are some days we don't get to, but if we don't get to catch up real soon, we're in trouble. So anyway, we're really excited to be together right now. Some other things, we got married, some other similarities that we have are, what about our children?
I have 2 girls, and you have 2 girls.
Yes, and our 4 girls are very close, and they talk, and they're in different states, Florida, Alabama, Maryland, and Ohio, have not lived near each other any year of their life, and yet they are all very close and keep in constant contact. So we're very proud of that.
Yes, we are.
So we wish we knew all that they know about us and everything else. But anyway, we're excited that the 4 girls are very close. Let's see, then we have both done something. We've had jobs at different times, but that was never really our career. What was our career?
We were pastors' wives.
And what states were your churches in?
Our first church was in Delaware, then we moved to California, and then in Alabama for over 30 years.
Okay, and then our 2 churches were, first one was in Pennsylvania, and then most recently was the one in Maryland, here in Carroll County. And so, anyway, we shared that. Besides our full-time unpaid position as pastors' wives, that's where our hearts were. We taught Bible studies. We were very involved in music, instrumental music. Cindy was an organist and pianist, and I was in worship team, sometimes played my violin. We were both soloists, duets, trios, you name it. All kinds of combinations and choirs and that kind of thing. So the music has continued, then singing for special events and that kind of thing.
Marlene and I were thrilled to be invited back to our home church to sing at its 200th anniversary.
I went on to be a substitute teacher for 17 years with Carroll County Public Schools, as well as I started with a part-time job at Carroll County Public Library, and I've been there for over 20 years. Cindy, what else have you done?
I have been a piano teacher for about 38, 39 years.
As well as accompanying choirs, church organist, church pianist,
Yes.
playing for lots of other soloists and things. So she really developed her musical gifts as years went on. The violin, little by little, got dropped, and old age has hit the voice, and solos are gone too for me. But she's got that low solo voice, so she's still with it. Now, oops, here comes a member of our family that you have seen before. Here's Cooper. I won't pet him because you know he gets all excited and then we can't do anything. Anyway, we are also grandmothers, but we each have different names. My name is Mama, which is the same thing that my kids called my mom and I called my grandmothers. But anyway, I have 2 girls, and I'm used to that. That sounded perfectly right, but I was not prepared for the 3 boys. But I love them all dearly, and the boys, I have 2 of the boys living nearby the last year or so, and you know I love that, and you have seen my grandsons. All right, now, I'm a mom, you're
Gigi.
and tell
Gigi
them-
and Paw is what we are called. My oldest grandson is officially a senior.
I'm glad I'm not as old as she is.
Well, your children started later too. Yeah, he'll be a senior next year, and then that's Kyan, and then Kinley is 13. And then our youngest daughter and her husband have a 6, soon-to-be 7-year-old girl, Tegan, and a 5-year-old boy, Ellis.
And so that's really fun. And I don't get to Alabama very often anymore, but whenever I do, I love getting to see her grandchildren and the ones in Florida. I haven't seen for a good while, so it's hard for me to believe they're growing up so quickly. You know, we used to see each other's kids a lot more when they were little, but now that everybody's married and has their own families, as you know, I'm sure in your family, it gets more difficult. Well, I just wanted you to meet my very best friend in the whole wide world. We love each other to death, and the Lord has blessed us. I know not everybody is blessed with the same kind of relationships that we've had. I can honestly say, since we grew up and moved out of the house, we have never had a fight. I don't think we've had a cross word. We just don't. We just haven't. We know each other too well. We just work it out, I guess. But anyway, I'm blessed and I love her to death. And I'm so glad that you joined me this week on Marlene at Home. And you can meet the other half of me, the other half of Bill's girls or Fran's girls or the Davis sisters. So thank you for joining me. And I hope you will come back again another week on Marlene at Home.
Here we are back in our hometown at our favorite ice cream store. Thanks for joining us.